Hey, Daniel, look, I'm going to be funny. Groovy.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to an episode. An episode of the Horror of Babylon. I'm sorry. This is actually yeah. It's episode 4 of the Deadite-a-Thon, where we discuss Evil Dead. I am Ryan. With me, as always, is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Groovy.
Oh, you're so funny. You're so clever. And speaking of clever people, speaking of clever girl, thank you to our patrons, starting with Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, Rider of Raptors, and
Logan,
the Full Metal
Raptor.
And Ben, the fourth patron of
Raptors.
Yeah. And Mia the Fifth,
the Raptor Maker.
The Raptor Maker. Yep. And Ronald the Third. He's most genetically related to a turkey.
So, now that we've done that, I don't think we get to do it again if we do Jurassic Park.
We should do Jurassic Park, and we'll do it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
I'll
just do it anyway.
Just do it again.
Yeah.
But and thank you to the sponsor of the Deadite-a-Thon for Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, or at the mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you can shop online at shop.forhorsemencomics.com. And please let them know that we sent you, so that they can know that this is worth it.
It is worth it in the end.
It's absolutely worth it. You know
we
what?
were paid to be here.
We were absolutely paid to be here. I don't know if I would watch this movie a third time if paid or not, but
I would, but I have different tastes.
I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, so we'll just keep going. All right, trigger warning. That's the wrong movie.
Yeah, I mean, how different is it? I guess
pretty different. I mean, there's a dog dies, so that's a big trigger thing. You know, just general violence and gore, people being tied up and restrained, and a big one that we don't always have: needles.
Yeah, no, wasn't great.
Yeah, that's
a Daniel fear.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of needles, but I am afraid of having one in my eye or my face. Really,
it went through his glasses, man.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I always like to pretend my glasses will protect me.
So, Daniel, what is your history with Evil Dead?
I remember it was, way back in the day when we were still young and pretty.
Yeah, 2013.
and the trailer came out, and, I believe it was me and Abby were sort of hyped for it. I was a little bit worried based on some, things I'd seen and heard about it. But at the end of the day, I ended up enjoying it when we went to go see it in theaters. I think she ended up liking it too. It's hard for me to recall all of our theater conversations.
I think Ash went with us too.
Yeah, because he's a big Evil Dead guy.
Yeah, I think he really likes the show.
Mm-hmm.
I also went and I didn't like it, and I still don't. But I'm not here I'm not here to yuck your yum. There's a lot, there are things to like in this movie, and I do have some compliments for it.
That's good. Compliments are important.
Yes. You know what else?
Compliment sandwich.
You know what else is important is not text.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
So this film was released at South by Southwest Film Festival on March 8th, 2013. So a little more than 10 and a half years ago. Wikipedia calls it a reimagining of The Evil Dead. You've been calling it a soft reboot. I feel like remake is...
Yeah, remake's fine.
But apparently the director, Fede Alvarez, said it is within the same continuity as the original 3 films. Which I can't really think of anything specifically that doesn't work.
I mean, I guess it's just like a giant coincidence that there's also another cabin and a...
Well, I think I thought it was the same cabin.
Oh, I guess I didn't think of that.
I mean, it looks the same.
I guess it is just a dingy old cabin.
Yeah, I mean...
I guess if it was the same cabin, I'd be expecting more, like, Easter eggs, but it's not like the movies have, like, been really strong with their continuity.
Yeah.
So...
I don't know. I thought it was the same cabin, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I guess I didn't pay much mind to it.
It's not really the cognitive man's movie.
Yeah. Continuity is not the strong suit of the series.
Not even with the TV show? Doesn't that like... No, not really?
No. If anything, it adds more questions. I think the TV show is the best out of all of these.
Okay. So this is the 4th of 5 installments in the Evil Dead film series, produced by Sam Raimi, directed and co-written by Fede Alvarez, who did Don't Breathe and Don't Breathe 2.
Don't Breathe was perfectly fine. Didn't see the sequel.
The Girl in the Spider's Web, and will write and direct Alien Romulus.
Alien-a-Thon.
And apparently, I didn't know this until I read it today, he was considered to be the director of the Batman, but...
Okay.
Obviously, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And this film was co-written by I'm sorry, I can't. Both of these gentlemen are from Uruguay, and they are writing partners.
Is that in Middle Earth?
It is in the middle of Earth, depending on your perspective.
I'd never heard of it before. I'm sorry.
Uruguay and Paraguay.
Mm-mm.
That's no way. Every elementary school kid has looked at a globe and said, "There's a country that says you are gay."
No, I heard of Uranus.
Okay. So Rodo has written all the same movies that Fede Alvarez has written. They're writing partners, so he's also one of the 2 writers for Alien Romulus, coming up later next year. This movie had a budget of $17 million, and I don't know why I'm surprised, because all of these movies have done pretty well, save Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
But it brought in almost $98 million.
No, it made like a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like almost 5 times its budget, like 5-ish times its budget. It's a lot. It was nominated for the Saturn Award for Best Makeup, but lost to the film Prisoners, and it kind of has a mixed critical reception. I was just kind of looking down through like the various scores from different websites and stuff, and some are pretty good, some are pretty bad. But I feel like that makes sense considering the movie.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Okay, so we're jumping into structure and themes. And I want to kick it off with what, for me, I feel like is the core or flaw of this movie for me, but would probably be considered a pro for other people who are a fan of this franchise. And at this point, this is the 4th movie we're watching, and it had 3 of these 4 movies all have the same premise. and it's just like I've seen this movie 3 times now.
Yeah, I mean that's the franchise. It's like you go and you watch a Friday the 13th film. By the time you get to part 7, you should know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what is similar with this movie to the other ones. What, if anything, is different? There are differences, but what's different about this one?
You want the similarities or the differences first?
I don't care.
The gore is similar. Like it's a gore fest. You know, the isolation in the middle of the woods. There's like an escalation of intensity to the violence. The major difference for this movie is they tried to give the characters backstories.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's like motivation and other than just, you know, Ash trying to get laid as a motivation for being in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, the Mia was some sort of junkie, and they were doing a cold turkey-a-thon, which is usually what I call the 3 days after Thanksgiving.
I shouldn't find that as funny as I did.
So what's different about this one, aside from backstory?
I mean, that's the big thing for me. Tone.
It feels to me like that's the biggest difference, is that it takes itself a lot more seriously than all the other movies do.
I remembered this being really funny, and I was watching it, and I was like, huh, why do I remember this being funny?
I don't know. I don't think it's funny at all.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Granted, I haven't thought any of them are funny, and supposedly 2 and 3 are comedies, but there were a couple things I laughed at, but not because it was intended to be that way.
Yeah, it was like when we laughed at the Joker.
Yeah. What I felt like is they were like, okay, we're going to make The Evil Dead, but we're going to do it with like modern, like Blumhouse-esque horror tropes and try and make it super serious and super scary.
I was like, is this a Blumhouse movie? When I was sitting here watching it, I was like, because it feels like one of those like the Insidiouses or the I don't know, what's another Blum? Not Five Nights at Freddy's.
The kid.
Yeah,
the one with the kid.
But tone's the big difference. It's almost morose, honestly.
Yeah, it feels kind of like almost like the Pet Cemetery of the Evil Dead franchise. Like when you watch like Evil Dead 2, you're like, okay, well, this is kind of like, it's not completely dark. I feel like somebody could walk away from this, but when you watch this movie, you're like, oh my god, like nobody's gonna walk away from this without something wrong with them.
I was sitting there and I was like, because I was trying to remember this whole time what I found funny about it, and the only thing I can fathom is maybe I just used to think gore was really, really funny.
I would believe it.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically, but yeah. I feel like when I think of the Evil Dead franchise, the 2 things I think about the most are over the top gory special effects and overacting.
Yep.
And this one completely eliminates like the overacting. And it has gory special effects, but I feel like they're more subtle. They're not as like in your face as they are in the first 3 movies.
I think the only time it actually feels like some of the earlier films or the show is during like that final fight scene, because that's when she's whooping out. They're not quite Ash one-liners, but there's some one-liners, and the gore is a lot more not comedic, but
yeah,
it's over the top. I'm trying to find the words for this. It's all over the top, but the final fight scene with like the main demon is kind of silly.
That demon's name is the Abomination.
The Abomination. Yeah, the fight with the they should have just called the Incredible Hulk.
Me as the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, if I lost my hand, I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah, I would be too.
I guess my brother also would have died.
Yeah, two women lose their hands in this movie. Idle hands. I kind of felt like I was watching like Evil Dead meets like a torture porn, like a Saw almost. Like the scene with the needles and the scene with the nail gun.
I mean, that sort of lines up like timeline wise, because that would have been like at the tail. It would have been at the tail end of the whole torture porn craze.
Yeah.
Because Saw was like mid 2000s.
Yeah, I think the first one was like
2003 or 2004,
3, 4, something like that.
And then it stretched on for like 7 years. So it would have been at the tail end of that, but it also kind of reminds me of a lot of other remakes. I don't know if you've seen like the Texas Chainsaw remake or the Friday the 13th remake.
No.
But it's shot very similarly.
The writer-director of Evil Dead Rise did not write the Texas Chainsaw remake, but he was credited with the story for that movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of people, let's talk about people.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
We have a brand new group of young, beautiful people that horrible, horrible things are going to happen to. And let's start with kind of your red herring protagonist. No, so the brother is the red herring.
Yeah.
So she's the actual, or at least the one that survives. Mia Allen, played by Jane Levy. What did you think?
I think she did a pretty good job. She had to do a lot. She had to play a drug addict, had to play
A Deadite.
Had to play last survival girl.
Had to play the sister whose brother abandoned her to take care of her dying mom, and you never were there when we needed you, blah 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 blah.
It's no wonder I do drugs.
Yeah. You're my excuse for doing drugs, bro.
Yeah. So I mean, I think she did a pretty admirable job, she has like an actual backstory,
which is more than I can say for any character in The Evil Dead.
Yeah. I honestly don't got much more else to say.
I think she did. It was a good performance, and the character is not super memorable, but she was serviceable.
Yeah.
What I find strange is something we'll talk about more in our Evil Dead Rise episode, is they actually intended on keeping her on for 2 more movies.
Huh.
They were the original plan after this movie. We'll talk about. Actually, you know what? Let's just table it.
Okay, we'll table it.
That is something everybody will get to hear in our Evil Dead Rise episode, but I will just say they planned on making 2 more movies with this character.
Okay.
Which, she's fine, she's serviceable, but I don't think she's strong enough of a character to carry like a whole trilogy of films.
Yeah.
And then her brother, the red herring protagonist, David Allen, played by Shiloh Fernandez.
So much so that he's decked out in denim the whole movie.
Yeah. He's
And if you've seen The Evil Dead, you know that one of the first things that happens is Ash's sister gets possessed.
Mm-hmm.
Up until he finds a way to resurrect her.
That's, I was kind of assuming like, okay, this guy's Ash, and his sister gets possessed by a Deadite, just like Ash's sister gets possessed, and then it subverts your expectations, and he saves her.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say that I was never convinced until the very end that she was actually saved, that there wasn't still like a Deadite inside of her, and there still could be, I guess,
because I mean that's how the Deadites have worked. There's no consistency to Deadites.
And the book says it needs 5 souls for the abomination to come back.
Yeah.
And when David dies, he's the 5th soul, which means that they should have Mia's soul. So there's still a Deadite hiding inside of her. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Not that, like it says, not that it matters. This isn't Futurama. We can't connect all the dots here.
This isn't the Five Nights at Freddy's lore.
I don't think any of the performances in this movie are bad. I think they're generally pretty good. If I had to pick one that I thought was a little on the weak side, it's David Shiloh Fernandez. I don't think he did bad.
Yeah.
he has a little bit of that protagonist energy that sometimes irritates me. I don't know. I can't really explain why.
Okay, I'll just accept it.
Yeah. I don't know. Eric.
I kind of liked Eric.
He's the Terminator. He cannot die.
Yeah. That's one of the things I liked about him.
It's like, how are you not dead?
He just gets absolutely brutalized in this movie, and he keeps chugging along.
It's his punishment because everything is his fault.
But Ryan, he tried to burn the book for you.
Yeah,
I saw that, and I was like, hey, there you go, Ryan.
Because if I were in that situation, I'd be like, this probably won't work, but I gotta try.
That's the first thing you should try, right?
Yeah, because if it ends up working, you save everybody, or worse, if you everybody's dead and you're like, oh, I forgot to try burning it. What if that would have worked?
It's like when we talked about how the Deadites got better in both Evil Dead 2 and in Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
I just keep picturing someone asking Ash, why don't you just try to make them all better instead of cutting them up?
Yeah. Now, in this movie, you have 3 options. You can bury them alive, you can burn them alive, or you can dismember them.
At least you got options this time.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which is not as much as you get later.
No. Yeah, but I mean, he is kind of a knob. He's definitely a knob.
That's why I relate to him so much.
Yeah, but he doesn't die. I thought for sure, after he got stabbed in the face 12 times with a needle, I was like, oh, he's so dead. It's like, oh no, he's still chugging along. And then he gets shot up with a nail gun. It's like, oh, he's super dead. No, he shows up in the basement.
Beat with a crowbar.
Yeah, he gets his ass beaten with a crowbar. It's like, this dude has got some will.
And that's the thing is, I know I keep saying there's no rhyme or reason to Deadite rules, and I think that's part of the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some people will get a scratch in this
and then they turn into a Deadite.
And then you have someone like him who's just who's just brutalized.
Yeah, that's actually something I was going to bring up in our Evil Dead Rise episode.
Yeah, because they specifically addressed that.
Yeah. Okay. Olivia, who is, I'm an RN, played by Jessica Lucas.
I'm an RN. This is perfectly normal.
I'm giving her the same treatment she would get at a hospital. No.
Do you have all the equipment?
Is this a sterile environment? Pretty sure it's not.
Do you have IV bags? Are you a doctor? Oh, you're a nurse, so you think you are.
No, that's not. That's not nice. That's not nice.
I work with too many nurses.
Okay. Nurses are the backbone of our healthcare system. Yeah, she saws her own face off.
Yeah, she does.
She tries to. I guess she doesn't get it all the way off.
Not all the way.
No. When he walks into the bathroom and you see her hunched over in the corner, she had some real Gollum energy, sitting there.
Yeah, just really going at it.
Really going at it. Okay, let's keep going. Elizabeth Blackmore plays Natalie, who is David's girlfriend. This is the character I feel the worst for, because she's not part of their group. She's not part of their drama. She's dating one of them, and he's like, oh yeah, my sister has an issue. We're gonna, go to a cabin in the woods and try and get her off drugs. Cool. Oh yeah, sure, I'll go with you, honey. And just gets totally fucked over because of all these other people.
I mean, yeah. I guess I didn't think about that before.
And she has to woman up and cut off her own hand, and she really doesn't hesitate about it, just like Ash doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he got possessed Mia going in the basement going, don't you do it, don't you fucking do it.
She's like, fuck you. Watch me.
Could you cut off your own arm?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I don't know if I could.
I don't think I could.
Yeah, I think I might try, but as soon as it hit bone, I'd probably wuss out. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'll be possessed.
I'd be more surprised if that thing could cut through bone.
Yeah. I've used one of those to cut a turkey, and I have issues like cutting off the legs of the turkey. So I'm not saying it couldn't cut through a human arm, but it definitely couldn't do it that fast, unless it was just like a $1,000 one, just like for bone slicing.
It has diamond blades
Diamond tip blades
for your cabin trips.
Yeah, their prime rib looked really yummy when they were slicing it up.
Man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, food good. And then finally, our villainish, the Abomination, played by Randall Wilson. I wish people would stop trying to replicate the lightning in a bottle that happened with Reagan in The Exorcist, with all these like creepy male-ish voices over top of possessed women. Aside from that, I thought it was fine.
It's a final boss.
Yeah.
That's how all the other Evil Dead movies and this one up until the final boss, it's this no rhyme or reason, just complete chaos. But there seemed to be rules about this thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just a little weird. And it was like we have this last thing we got to take care of. That once you beat, you're done.
It ties up the movie a little cleaner than the first two. Army of Darkness had a final boss, but that's way different than all the others.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I will say, as I was watching this today, I didn't feel like I had seen this movie before, except the only thing I remembered was like the raining blood and her like hiding under the car with a chainsaw.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's all I remembered.
Like I remembered scenes, but in my head they were playing out comedically. Like I guess maybe I was remembering soundtracks different. Like the fight in the bathroom.
Were we drunk when we saw that movie?
We might have been. That might have been one of those times where we were like, hey, let's take a few shots and then go see a horror movie or go see a movie.
Yeah, because we used to do that more than we should have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Okay. Well.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Is this movie scary?
I'm too desensitized to a lot of horror these days I feel to make that kind of judgment.
It was not scary for me, but there were things that made me cringe.
Yeah.
But in like the same way that watching Home Alone makes me cringe. When Daniel Stern steps on a nail or Joe Pesci gets his head lit on fire by a torch.
I think that this could probably replicate that feeling whenever I was wee baby Daniel and saw like the first Evil Dead movie. And, just the idea of like zombies that you can't stop coming after you might scare you if you're like really young.
Yeah.
And even up until teenage years, I can see this being like kind of a thrill ride for maybe 13-year-olds. But I'm just too desensitized at this point. A lot of the things that's like actually put dread in me these days in movies are stuff like that you see in like Hereditary or Pet Sematary.
Yeah, just like real stuff.
Yeah, or things. There are certain things that like very specifically scare me.
Yeah.
But this didn't have any of that.
It's not impossible for supernatural stuff to scare me. Like the first time I watched Attack on Titan, it scared me. Just like getting eaten is a thing that I can't handle.
Yeah.
There are certain, like, overall Walking Dead is not scary, but there's just like a couple key scenes that do fuck me up. I'm sure this was after you stopped watching, but the spinny glass doors. There's a scene where in one of the later seasons where a guy's running away and he jumps into one of those, and it spins like halfway and gets stuck, and like 10 zombies pile in with him, and he gets stuck in between the spinning glass doors with like a bunch of zombies.
Oof.
And all his friends are on the other side and they just watch him get eaten.
Oof.
It's not fun. And then there's another scene in one of the later seasons where a guy gets pinned against a chain link fence by a bunch of zombies and just has nowhere to go. It's just stand there and die. And so like being trapped and eaten alive, that's but yeah, most of the time when something scares me, it's because it ties into something that could actually happen, like Pet Sematary. This is really just more like gross and just like stuff that made me go, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, like, it would be painful if it happened.
Like, I think the most effective thing was Eric pulling the needle out of his face.
Yeah.
But that's just like the face you're making. It's just like, ugh, just like, it's not scary. Like, I'm not going to have a nightmare about that tonight. But it is effective. I have a reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually just have nightmares about the shadow people.
Yeah, shadow people suck. So, some compliments. This movie is entirely impractical effects. They only use CGI to do touch-ups.
I mean, it looks really good.
Which, yeah, I was surprised. Like, I don't think the effects in this movie are like so good that you're like out there, saying, "Oh, you have to go see this movie. The effects are so good." But I was very surprised to find out that there's no CG in it and that it's all practical, because nothing like I was believing like everything I was seeing.
Yeah. The makeup people did a really good job with like all the Deadite gore.
Yes. They all looked very good.
Yeah.
There were some scenes that were too dark, I felt like.
Yeah. Sometimes that's done to like help hide things. But I think everything that I got to actually see, though, looked so good that I think it just had to be a choice.
Yeah, I know that's common for movies like this, and I think it works sometimes, but sometimes when it's so dark that I can't tell what's happening, it just gets annoying. Okay. Yes, that is a thing.
Kiss me, fat boy!
All right, for Kiss Me, Fat Boy, we're going to play a variation on Fuck, Marry, Kill called Fuck, Marry, Kill, Dismember, Bury Alive, Burn Alive. And your 6 characters are the 5 kids plus the dog. So which one do you fuck? Which do you marry? Which do you kill? Which you can kill, however. Which do you dismember? Which do you bury alive? And which do you burn alive?
Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna bury Mia alive because it works.
That's fair. Yeah, let's just go down them one at a time. So Mia, you're gonna bury her alive
because it worked.
Yeah. I think. Oh gosh, that's hard. Yeah, I'm also gonna bury her alive. I can't argue with your logic. David. Kill him with fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn him alive.
Yeah, he sucks. Go away.
It's the denim.
Eric, I'm dismembering Eric.
I'm also dismembering him because I want to see if he makes it.
I just want to see if he actually is a robot from Skynet. Olivia, I think I'm going to marry Olivia because she's a nurse and I get injured a lot.
I think I'm going to fuck Olivia.
And then I'm going to fuck Natalie.
I'm gonna marry Natalie because I can't marry a dog.
Oh shit! That means we have to. Wait, what do we?
Kill the dog.
We have to kill the dog.
Well, at least we're not burning it alive.
I guess we could like give it a lethal injection. Like we can put it down.
Yeah, we didn't say how. Like we have a shotgun, right? We're at the cabin.
Yeah, you could do that too. Gosh, I feel bad, but I don't want to do any of these things to a dog, so. I guess we're gonna put the dog down.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's jokes I can't make, so I'm just gonna be quiet.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
My king and my Koontz are pretty simple. My king is the effects, and my Koontz is I've seen this movie 2 times already.
My king is the practical effects, because I think that they're just really good.
Yep.
And my Koontz is the Ash cameo.
Yeah, it's not good.
I cannot think of a worse cameo in a movie. I've tried.
I've actually spent part of today trying. I thought that we might do a pre-show that's like top 5 worst cameos.
Yeah.
And I think eventually I'll think of one, but I haven't thought of one yet.
Yeah, it's ever since I sat down and watched this movie a few days ago, I've been sitting down trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot come up with anything that I liked less.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, the only other, like, worst cameos I can think of are, like, I didn't notice them, but they're in the background, and so I don't know what the director is or what they look like, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Nope, that's totally fair. Okay, ranking. Okay. I'm first. I've got it pretty low, but I mean, this is just not a movie for me. So don't feel bad that I don't like this movie. If you like this movie, that's great. So I have The Evil Dead at number 86, and then Evil Dead I have one spot above, number 85. I think it's a little bit better just because I feel like they tried a little harder, but I just really don't like either movie, so that's why they're so low.
Where's my Reanimator?
Your Reanimator is number 17.
I think I'm just gonna keep going with using the Reanimator as a guideline of it being like the best version of Evil Dead. I think I'm going to go with putting it right below Evil Dead 2.
That makes it your new number 20, above Army of Darkness and below Evil Dead 2. And when in our Evil Dead Rise episode, after we rank Evil Dead Rise, I'll then pull them out and say, okay, this is my ranking for all 5, and this is your ranking for all 5. They're going to be pretty different, but I mean, that's totally fine. Totes cool. Okay, homework. Your co-host is possessed by a deadite. Do you burn them alive, bury them alive, or dismember them, and why?
I bury you alive to see if I can hear you screaming at me through the dirt. Book said to dismember you.
I do all 3. But, so it doesn't say how much you have to dismember them. So I'll just like cut off one of your legs and one of your arms. So I'll dig the hole, cut off a couple of your limbs, set you on fire, push you in the hole, and then just start shoveling dirt.
And just put the fire out.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just going to make a slower death. So you'll have the pain of being on fire for a while, and then the dirt will put the fire out, and then you'll just have to lay there until you die.
Okay.
So for further reading, do you have any recommendations for people who like Evil Dead?
That late 2000s, early 2000s remake era.
I wrote torture porn and Exorcist.
I would say the Peter Jackson zombie movie, only it's way more silly than this. It's way more gory than this. It's more gory than Evil Dead Rise.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it's like, it actually made me sick.
Wow.
So I'd probably, if you like any of the Evil Dead movies, I'd say watch that.
Okay, cool. Upcoming on the Horror Babylon this Sunday is our next book episode where we are reading The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. And then the following Sunday, December 10th, we are reviewing the Battle Royale manga, the first one by Masayuki Taguchi. And we're also going to throw in Battle Royale Angel's Border in there just for fun, which is one of the newer battle royale mangas. It's only a single volume long.
Yeah, here's my review. I cried. I don't want to talk about it.
I know, it's so sad. I was bawling. It's so bad.
If I can find it, I took a picture of me crying over it.
The scene with the 6 girls and the poison, I think, is probably the saddest scene. And then they wrote an entire manga to just make that scene sadder.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough. And then the next 2 bonus episodes on Thursday, December 7th, is our final episode of the Deadite-a-Thon, Evil Dead Rise. And then we actually start our next 4 Horsemen sponsored marathon on December 14th. We kick off the Blade-a-Thon with Blade. Yeah.
I love Blade, so.
I've never seen it. I've seen the first episode of the anime. That's my entire experience with Blade. So I'm happy we've done a little DC content. We've never touched Marvel, so this will be our first time with Marvel. Probably not the Marvel franchise that most people would have been like jumping out of their seats for us to cover, but I think it's the one that fits closest to our show.
I mean, it would either be that or Morbius.
Or Marvel Zombies.
Yeah.
We could do like a Marvel Zombies and a Deceased.
Yeah.
Like versus, like, compare and contrast.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that could be all right. All right. And
I could post that one to my comic book channel too.
Yeah, I need to share that around. And speaking of sharing things, I'd like to share my thanks to our patrons, Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben,
the 4th
Patron of Hope, and Mia the 5th, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to the sponsor of the Deadite-a-Thon and the Blade-a-Thon, 4 Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.4horsemencomics.com. And if you make it into the store, say hello to the proprietor, Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas.
Torturer of Ryans.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was watching this movie, I was texting him terrible things.
Did he know how much you were going to dislike these?
No.
Okay.
No, we never really, we spent all our time talking about Star Wars, so never discussed horror films very much.
That's funny.
All right, well, thank you for rewatching Evil Dead and recording with me tonight.
I had a good time. I'm sorry you did not.
I had a good time recording. I just
went through the movie.
Yeah, it's fine. It's 90 minutes.
We're getting a Luann Noodles movie soon.
Yeah, soon. And it, like, a 90-minute movie I didn't like is not so bad. A 10-hour audiobook I hate is a little rougher, but this is fine. It's fine. And one more, and we're done with the Evil Dead peoples.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
Luann Noodles.